Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of Another Pass, where we talk about movies and all the struggles that go into making them. If you like it, check out the whole podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts. But I do think it's interesting to look at the franchise now that we do have the Matt Reeves movies, or like the Andy Serkis ones, since Reeves didn't direct the first, or Rise. In that it does create this sort of now open loop. Like originally the franchise, because there's debate about how things are going to go after a battle. Like at the end of the movie, you are left thinking, oh, either we're going to descend into the same sort of schism where humanity is a subservient class to the apes and like are being pushed into bestiality. That's not the right word.
Yeah, I was like, what?
No, that's Chuck Heston's special. He just loves bestiality.
I guess, I'm not going to kink shame anyone, but what case?
Yeah, sorry. Into an atavistic regression, we'll say.
Yes, okay.
Use a $10 word instead of a $5.
Uh-huh.
But if you look at it from the perspective of the larger franchise, because there is also room for humanity to actually find peace with the apes at the end of battle, it could be a scenario where it creates actually a loop where Rise becomes the first movie in the franchise chronologically, and then you follow that story of the ascension of the Planet of the Apes. And then you go to the first movie where it's the astronauts that they say they lose contact with in Rise, and they end up in the future, and then the apes come back in time, and then we actually break the timeline as a possibility. And that's all I think kind of interesting.
Yeah, like Rises goes straight into Chuck Heston's one, whereas like, well, I mean, not really, because they left in the 70s, but like, and then Conquest and all that is its own alternate timeline, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, like, because like looking at Conquest I think is doing a lot of things really right, but there are some interesting choices that they are making, and a lot of it's budget and a lot of it is who they could get, that make the timeline really weird, because this is set in 1991. Like, I don't know about you, I don't remember us all having ape servants in 1991. I probably would have been very down with it, and I would have wanted them to be my best friend.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But because
other than that, it looked just like 1991.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
all the fashions,
the way everybody dressed. It was just the
hair, the
Cold War was still going on.
All of that stuff, very much. I mean, all of our government officials wore all black, everywhere. No suits, no ties, very clean military kind of uniforms. It was amazing. The 90s was very clean cut decade.
They got the architecture perfect.
Can you imagine if they actually got the fashion choices perfect? Like if it was like fascist Jinko jeans.
Yeah.
UFO pants.
Yeah.
Like everyone is wearing plaid overshirts, but they're all black with like gray trim instead.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the timeline is a weird part here looking at this movie, like regardless of anything else. And like there's so many things that are like, it's technically a problem, but it's not a thing that ruins my enjoyment of this movie. And so like we just pick up from the teaser at the end of Escape, where it's like, oh yeah, the baby survived and Ricardo Montalban has the baby. And so now it's an adult, and it's only, it's like 18 years after that movie, and all of a sudden we have slave ape society, and they're getting smarter, and they're being utilized that way. And there's a lot of apes also, which is a note I have just in terms of like the numbers. Like there aren't that many apes in the real world. They are very endangered.
Yeah, those female apes really want to get fucked real hard. Like the way she was looking.
Well, I think it's because she already had an interaction with him, like at the bookstore. So she was like, But they're breeding them specifically because they're of high value. Clearly, I mean, so this is a business. So yes, business is booming, and so the population is booming.
Yeah, but like population boom though, like, but apes don't age that fast. Is I guess what I'm getting at. Like,
okay, that's fair.
I mean, they would have really had to because the actual timeline is like, okay, the plague that hits all the cats and dogs was 8 years prior. So it's not even going back to the 70s. So from 1983 to now, like I'm saying, objectively, it doesn't work from like the practical standpoints. Again, it doesn't ruin this movie for me, because I get that probably they wanted it to stay as the direct child as opposed to like the descendant of Cornelius and Zira. Remember, if you like that clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.